One of the most common questions we get is my depression and anxiety biochemical? And is that how I should be looking at my situation and how to address it? Well, what I would say is you have to first of all get acquainted with what the likely chances are of actually getting results if you try to treat your situation purely from a biochemical standpoint. Okay, so if you just look at either your own experience or the experience of those that I'm sure you know, how many people do you know who've been on some sort of pharmaceutical to try to actually solve a problem, but are still dealing with the problem to some extent, right? I personally, in my experience, having worked with several thousand people over the years, I've never seen somebody come to me and say that they finally found some sort of magical pharmaceutical combination that completely eliminated their depression or anxiety for a prolonged period of time. So don't mistake this as me providing any medical advice to you, but simply reporting what I've seen over a vast array of cases. And so what I've seen time and time again is that if you try to manipulate your biochemistry, that can create a very short-term alleviation of the symptoms, but it's not going to create an actual change from the real source of the problem. And people mistake their biochemistry as being the source of the problem. So for instance, think of it this way. If you were to ask me, is depression and anxiety simply biochemical, I might say to you, well, is being able to sleep at night purely biochemical? Right? Because think of it, when you go to sleep, there's a very different change happening inside of your nervous system, right? Your biochemistry is changing quite rapidly, right? Your metabolism is going to change, right? The actual chemicals being released and moved in all sorts of different ways are going to be changing when you go into sleep. So would it make sense for us to just give you sleeping pills for the rest of your life, and that's going to solve the problem of what you're dealing with your sleep? I think you would intuitively know that being able to create a solution for your sleep is more than just a biochemical thing, right? It has to do with what you're focused on consistently. If you have a ton of racing thoughts going through your mind, or if you're continuously dealing with stress, right? Or if you are just feeling like there is a big set of responsibilities on your shoulders, you're going to have a difficulty sleeping. We wouldn't just say, well, let's just drug you, right? I don't think that's how you would want to approach that. So similarly, it is, in my opinion, inhumane for us to simply be categorizing people with the form of diagnoses and then providing them with pharmaceutical prescriptions and simply saying that that is going to be enough in most cases for people to actually get their problem solved, because it's just not, right? You have to be able to deal with what's going on at the real source of the problem. And that comes down to a patterned condition of thought, patterned conditions of emotion, patterned conditions of behavior as well, right? We have to deal with each one of those patterns. We have to make sure that, cognitively you are feeling well balanced. We have to make sure emotionally you have tools and strategies to make sure that you're living a well balanced life. And obviously we have to make sure that your behaviors are aligned behind the actions that you really want to be taking in your life, right? And that there's not a constant disconnect in those areas. And that's a lot more than a simple pill is going to be able to help you create, as you understand very intuitively. So again, this is not me prescribing any specific medical advice, telling you to do or not do anything as far as your medications. All those decisions should be made with the advice of a physician. But simply I'm trying to challenge the notion that you're going to be able to get this problem solved simply by attacking it from a biochemical route. And I'm sure this is going to spark some conversation, so curious to hear your thoughts below. Take care.